Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. Today is Saturday, December 26th. It's Boxing Day. Right now, it's unfortunate because today is the day where millions of Americans will have their unemployment benefits expire. There's also another few key dates that are coming up in our calendar. By December 31st, there could be millions of Americans evicted as our eviction moratorium expires on December 31st. And on Monday, December 28th, we have the possibility of another government shutdown possible, as we don't have a signed agreement as to future government spending. So just a quick recap of what we know now. On Friday, both unanimous consent measures were failed by both sides on the Democrats and Republicans. The Republicans failed to pass their unanimous consent measures for budget extension and funding, and the Democrats had their $2,000 stimulus check request failed as it was voted down by the other party. And we now know that Trump is also in Mar-a-Lago. He's been golfing in Florida. So let's just see. There's been some clips here and there stating what Trump is doing. We know that he's been golfing with Lindsey Graham. And in the last few days, what Trump has done, it's been remarkable in the last 72 hours, what has happened in American politics. But in my mind, I think Trump, that throwing a curveball into the politics and the stimulus bill was kind of just noise and kind of typical Trump. And we need to remember that these negotiations have been going on for months, and for Trump to kind of voice his opinion just in the last few days before Christmas, really, I feel that he could have been speaking up more during the process. And I don't think it's a shock to him to know that the stimulus wasn't going to be anywhere above $1 trillion, or the check was not going to be above $600. Although he has been, part of his projection has been for him to be criticizing it publicly. So, over the last 24 hours, we've had a few members of the problem-solving caucus just come out and say, Trump, he'll be pressured to just come out and sign it the way it is and approve the $900 billion, $600 stimulus check. But we need to remember a few things. If Trump was to push this $2,000, or even above $1,500 stimulus check, we know that this amount would equal a stimulus bill overall of more than 1.4 trillion in overall stimulus budget. And through the summer of doing these videos and researching stimulus, we know that the $1 trillion mark has been a hard line for many Republicans since the summer. Like, that is a large number for them, and they do not want to go over that number. And, like we've seen this from Mitch McConnell, and many Republicans just publicly say that they don't want to go over a $1 trillion mark. This has been a hard red line for Republicans. So that being said, maybe there's some type of compromise. $1,000 stimulus check would roughly take the budget to 1.4 trillion, which might be in the ballpark of acceptability for these Republicans. So let's just see what CNN said to, what the state was yesterday, and then we can react to it.
When he comes here at Mar-a-Lago. And it is just remarkable, given the state of play of the economy and the extent to which Americans are hurting on Christmas Eve. We have 20 million plus Americans unemployed. More than 8 million Americans have fallen into poverty since this past summer. And Americans are hurting as we head into this holiday season, and the president not helping to relieve that economic stress, but instead putting the relief that they were expecting to receive into question. A few key deadlines that could be blown up.
Yeah, these are the deadlines that I've stated. We have today the expanded unemployment benefits run out, and December 31st, we have the family paid leave and the eviction moratorium running out on basically January 1st. So I agree with CNN in that point where, this is a really hard time for people. Food bank usage is, doubled or tripled in many states. We have people struggling to make ends meet, paying the rent, people losing their jobs left and right, unemployment, people being furloughed and forced to work less hours. So, and that's not even considering the physical toll of many, you have thousands of people, dying, almost 2 million infections in California and 1.7 million deaths in the United States, over 80 million globally. That's horrible. So, this is kind of unneeded from politics right now, and we just really need to get aid to people who need it right now.
By the president's seeming refusal to sign this legislation, perhaps even threatening to veto it this week. At the end of this week, those enhanced unemployment benefits, they will expire unless the president signs this legislation by the end of the week. December 31st, you have the paid family leave. That provision will also expire. And then on January 1st, the eviction protections that Americans have been able to get thanks to congressional legislation, that will also go away unless the president signs this legislation. And to top it all off, Bianna, a government shutdown could also be looming. Congressional negotiators had included a 7-day stopgap to ensure that government funding remains. That expires on Tuesday. So if the president does not sign this legislation, we could see a government shutdown at a time of economic crisis and amid one of the worst chapters of this coronavirus.
Yeah, so we have on 28th the budget expires, but we have a stopgap basically till Tuesday on a 7-day period. But it could really be up to Trump right now whether he's willing to throw more curveballs or monkey wrenches into the political machine. And he's really the risk right now. So we need to see what he'll do. Many people have said many people have come out on news sources and Twitters, basically saying he's going to sign it the way it is. But I'm not sure if, in terms of optics, if he really needs to right now. There could be many unknowns that he's willing to do. So he's definitely the risk right now, and we'll see what happens in the next few days.
Pandemic. Bianna.
And just to give our viewers a sense of how consequential the president's actions are, one estimate says that the ending of 2 expanded unemployment programs, this, as you were discussing, the day after Christmas, could push nearly 5 million people into poverty overnight.
Yeah, so we have millions, as we've said, we've had millions that are going to be affected materially by this. So I don't think it's anything to be taken lightly. So the other thing I wanted to, have you guys consider is that we know many Democrats and Republicans have come out and said that they don't really need a one-time stimulus check, like for $2,000, for $500. They argue that this won't help. It will help people in the short term, but it's not going to help us get out of this in the long term. We're talking about years, 1 year, 2 years from now for the economy. So they say we need a way to sustain the economy, and we're just going to have to live with the COVID infections. And we need a way to sustain the economy, have proper funding, and keep the economy going despite COVID. And we know that we're going to have to live with this for many years. So yesterday there was an interesting interview with former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers. He used the Harvard MIT graduate, former Treasury Secretary many years ago. Very intelligent guy. He has some very controversial views. Sometimes he's been misquoted and said very controversial things, but he agreed to this, has this stance, and it's a very interesting, quick interview. So I'll play a few clips and we'll react to it.
Better off with stimulus than we are without stimulus. I don't think the $2,000 checks make much sense. The real issue is going to be sustaining this expansion. You think about it, the 908 stimulus bill probably would pay out $200 to $250 billion a month for the next 3 months. The level of compensation is running about $30 billion a month below what we would have expected it would. GDP is running about $70 billion a month below what we would have expected it would. So in a way that's quite unprecedented, we have stimulus already much more than filling out the hole. And given that lots of the hole is from the fact not that people don't want to spend, but that they can't spend because they can't take a flight or they can't go to a restaurant, I don't necessarily think that the priority should be on promoting consumer spending beyond where we are now. So I'm not even sure that I'm so enthusiastic about the $600 checks. And I think taking them to $2,000 would actually be a pretty serious mistake that would risk a temporary overheat. I would like to see more assistance to state and local governments. I would like to see more money put into testing, more money put into accelerating vaccines. But gosh, David, I think it would be a real mistake to be going to $2,000. And I have to say that when you see the two extremes agreeing, you can almost be certain that something crazy is in the air. And so when I see a coalition of Josh Hawley, Bernie Sanders, and Donald Trump getting behind an idea, I think that's time to run for cover. And I know that many of my fellow Keynesians who believe in fiscal stimulus will likely be in favor of this, but sometimes there can be too much, too poorly designed of even a basically good idea. And that's my reaction to $2,000 stimulus.
Well, it's not.
Okay, interesting point. Reaction from Larry Summers, former Treasury Secretary. So he's a very smart, educated guy, Harvard, MIT grad. But I think in the lens of what's happening now, he's just stating things from my take on what he said. He's just taking a stance from it from a pure numbers standpoint. He's saying the stimulus so far is enough from a numbers standpoint. And the actual emphasis needs to be on, properly funding governments, reopening the economy so that people can spend. So he's arguing that on average, most people, they have enough, money or compensation to keep the economy going. It's the fact that the government is shut down. But, we don't have a method to really help people directly who are in need. So he's taking a pure number standpoint to it. But the fact is the matter, there's a lot of people who's, going to get, they're going to get wiped out and they're in a lot of pain right now. So, how do you do that on large numbers? It's very difficult. Like he's just saying on average, people are okay. But, it's very extreme. There's people with a lot of money who are flush with cash, and there's people that have nothing and, they're going hungry. So it's very difficult. And, what he's saying is from a pure academic standpoint. So let me know what you think of what he said. I think it's an interesting video. Maybe a lot of people's not covering that, but he's a smart guy. He's have a lot of experience, very controversial though, but that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think. But I think in this situation, you would want to err on probably too much stimulus if people are really hurting over not enough. So interesting Bloomberg video. But just to wrap up, there's three other key issues that we need to keep an eye on Monday. Obviously, number one is the government shutdown and spending that we've talked about. The second thing is the two main in-person votes that will happen on Monday, December 28th at 3 p.m. One is the proposed vote on the $2,000 stimulus check proposed by Trump. And there will be an emergency session and voting at 3 p.m. Monday Eastern. And the second one is the third point is the House is planning a veto act against the National Defense Act bill that was rejected by Trump. So those three things to watch out on Monday. I hope you guys had a very Merry Christmas. And now it's Boxing Day, December 26th. Please spend time with your family and, enjoy life. Be happy with given the circumstances that we're in right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again on the next video. So that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching and visiting the channel. Please subscribe and like the video. And if you could do me a huge favor and let your family and friends know about the channel, that would be awesome. See you next time. Bye.